Child of God, I want you to see that it makes no sense doubting God. It makes no sense. Sometimes we get car, we get house, and you hear a lot of times people say it makes no sense to not get insurance on these things. You see how it don't make sense to do that? Anything could happen to these things you buy. It makes no sense not to get insurance. So now that God's people understand what I mean, it makes no sense doubting God. Check this out. Let's go to some scripture here. Just one scripture. Mark 6 and verse 5. Mark 6 and 5. Jesus, this is Jesus. Well, if you read verse 4 to get a good gist, or verse 3, this is when Jesus went in his own country and they was probably, we call it hating. They were hating on him, and because of this, in verse 4, Jesus said, Jesus, verse 5, and he could there do no mighty work, save that he laid his hands upon a few sick people and healed them. Verse 6, and Jesus marveled at their unbelief. Now, I've heard a lot of children of God say, listen, I know if Jesus Christ was here literally in person, I would be healed, or my loved one would be resurrected from the dead. And I too used to believe that too. I'd be like, man, if Jesus Christ was right here, boy, I know I could get him to heal all kind of people and bring people back from the dead. But then when I was reading this scripture here, the Lord opened my eyes to something. He said this. Not necessarily so. Because Jesus Christ was right there in person and still couldn't heal some of them because of unbelief. Now let's dwell there for just a few seconds. How is it you can have Jesus Christ, God in the flesh, right there, in front of you, right there, right over there, and you still can't get your healing? And that started opening my eyes, because that's when I really started looking at unbelief and how serious unbelief is. Because even see, we don't believe because Jesus not here physically. So we say we have a hard time believing that Jesus Christ that we could get our healing from the Father, because Jesus Christ is not here physically for God to work through him to heal us. But Scripture is revealing your unbelief is the problem. It ain't Jesus here or not. That ain't the problem. Your unbelief is the problem. And then at the same time, when you understand that Scripture say by his stripes we're healed, when you understand that Jesus already did what he's supposed to do for us to receive healing, and when you see that Jesus and Scripture say, believe before you receive, and when you see that everything that you want from the Father, you need to first believe, you got to start seeing, child of God, it makes no sense doubting God. It just makes no sense. You have to see that. It makes no sense. It makes no sense doubting God. And that's something that I need children of God to dwell on for a while. It makes no sense to do that. I try to not use the story with some of these wars that Israel had with some of their enemies. They had a lot of doubt that they couldn't prevail. And then in the end, God saved them. And then you turn around and you realize, oh my goodness, it made no sense doubting God.